They thought seating me in the hallway, next to the trash bins, would be a quiet humiliation I'd swallow like always. But that chair became the last straw. I walked out of my sister's wedding without a word, while everyone laughed behind my back. What they didn't know was that I held every secret, every lie that built her perfect little world. By the time I got home, the wedding she'd spent months planning was already falling apart because I turned her dream day into her public nightmare. They thought seating me in the hallway would be enough. Just a small, quiet punishment, out of sight, out of mind. I saw the plan unfold like a scene from a bad movie. White satin, crystal chandeliers, laughter that never reached my feet. My name was not on the big seating chart. Instead, I found a tiny folding table shoved against the wall, right by the swinging doors to the restrooms. A single chair, no name card, no centerpiece, just a paper napkin and the hum of the ballroom on the other side. My name is Imani Reed. I live in Dallas. I'm a graphic designer. I do my best work behind a screen, arranging other people's memories into pretty shapes. Today, my work meant nothing. Today, the family put me where no one could see me. Growing up, my sister Tiana Walker was the one everything bent for. Perfect grades, perfect smiles, perfect timing. She had the kind of face that people remembered in restaurants and stopped to compliment. Our parents, Diane and Charles Walker, loved to tell the world about Tiana like she was a small miracle they had carefully polished. I was the quiet one, the sibling who never made noise, the one who accepted blame to keep things smooth. That role carved a hollow out of me I learned to hide like makeup. When Tiana told us she was engaged to Liam Robinson, I clapped. Liam's family was old money by Dallas standards. Neat houses, polite smiles, surnames said like trophies. There was champagne talk and a venue that cost more than my first car. My parents floated on that nervous pride. For them, the wedding was not only Tiana's moment. It was an announcement. And to make that announcement loud and perfect, someone had to be quietly moved aside. I offered, like I always did, to help. I designed a sample invitation in an evening, furious and precise. It had the kind of quiet glamour I liked. Soft script, clean layout, a hint of gold. "That's sweet," Tiana said, the laugh already set in her voice like a practiced chord. "But we hired a professional. We're going for a certain aesthetic." Aesthetic, in her mouth, was another word for erasure. The invitations were proof that the erasure could be polite and pretty. No photos of me in the slideshow. No throwaway mention in the speech. No seat at the table. The ballroom took my breath when I walked in. Chandeliers spilled like waterfalls. White roses were piled into soft mountains. The DJ had tracks that made people sway like hearts beating in time. Guests looked the way they look at a gallery opening. Pleased, important, choosing the right angle. I walked over to the ornate seating chart by the entrance, the one that looked like it belonged in a wedding magazine, and I ran my finger down the big list of names. Davis, Edwards, Robinson, Liam Robinson's name already gleamed. Mine, not there. I found my parents in a flurry near the front. The look that Diane gave me was the exact kind of fast, practiced disappointment parents keep in reserve for when they are embarrassed. She pinched the bridge of her nose and said, "This is not the time." "Don't make a scene." Tiana approached in a cloud of white and perfume. She smiled like a woman who had been practicing smiles in the mirror for months and now only had to press the right muscle. "Oh, there you are," she said, loud enough that people turned. "We had some last-minute changes. Your spot is just outside," she pointed. I followed the line of her finger and found it. The folding table, the lonely chair, the hall. People glanced at me like I was an exhibit they had not wanted to attend. Some of them smiled politely. A cousin whispered something and then looked away, eyes on the polished guests inside. The humiliation was physical, a hot rush climbing my neck and settling like a stone in my chest. It would have been easy to sit there. Sit like the obedient shadow. Let the music drown my face and let the photographers take the shots they wanted. Photos of a family that looked tidy and whole. I clutched the gift I had brought, a photo album I had made myself. I had spent months on it. It was heavy with pictures of Tiana and me, messy with the honest years, the silly birthday cakes, the scraped knees, the winter mornings when we shared a blanket and a single cup of cocoa. The album was a history in glue and ink, a truth I had hoped she would want to keep. Instead, she wanted the aesthetic. She wanted a curated, glossy life where I was a note left out of the score. I remember the exact moment I decided I wouldn't be a prop. The music swelled inside the ballroom. A couple slid past on the dance floor and laughed like they had been invited into a secret. I let go of the album for a second and felt all the old promises, "We're family, we love you," crumble like thin plaster. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I turned and walked. My exit was calm because I wanted it to be. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of a scene. I walked through the heavy doors into the cool Dallas night and felt the sound of laughter become a distant thing, like a radio left on in another room. The parking lot was nearly empty. My car was where I had left it, and the photo album sat beside me on the passenger seat like a small private accusation. By the time my phone buzzed, I was already cooling down. A message from my mother. "Where are you?" "Jenna, no, Tiana is asking. You're being selfish and making a scene by disappearing." The word selfish landed like ice. I typed nothing. I didn't want her to know what storm was building inside me. The slow, deliberate kind that looks like nothing until the lightning hits. I sat in my car and opened the album for the first time since I had put it down. Page by page, the photos spoke. There were pictures I knew would make people smile, the silly faces on family vacations, our matching pajamas. The one where Tiana fell into the fountain at grandmother's birthday and came up laughing like everything was a joke. There were also pictures I had politely cropped out at Tiana's insistence in the past. The scraped lip she once claimed was from a clumsy waitress, when it was really from a fight she lost. The candid shot of her close with an ex she said she'd never see again. Photographs don't lie. People do. As the night cooled and the ballroom buzzed in a light I could not see, a thought settled into me like a plan. They had seated me in the hallway to make me invisible, but someone who sits on the margins sees what the people inside miss. I knew things. Small things at first. Text messages, a throwaway comment, the way Tiana's laugh dropped when she thought no one listened. I had kept traces, as any quiet sister does. Drafts, old photos, a backup folder of the album I had been told to delete. I did not yet know how I would use those traces. I only knew one thing. The hallway seat had not silenced me. It had given me a view, and sometimes the view is all it takes. When I drove away that night, Dallas glittered in my rearview mirror like a city trying too hard to be perfect, just like my sister. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even turn on the radio. I drove in silence, hands steady on the wheel, heart pounding slow and deliberate. I wasn't angry in the loud kind of way. I was angry in the quiet way, the kind of anger that burns slow and deep, the kind that doesn't fade when the tears stop. I knew what they thought. Imani will cool off. She'll come back tomorrow and apologize for overreacting. That was the script I had played all my life. But not this time. That night, when I reached my apartment, I dropped my keys on the counter and stared at the gift I'd made, my photo album. I had designed it with love, hours spent scanning, editing, cropping. It was supposed to be something beautiful, something that reminded her of the sister who had always stood behind her. But now, it just felt like proof of my stupidity. I pulled out my laptop and stared at the folder labeled Wedding Files. Inside were hundreds of photos, old family pictures, silly selfies, even a few moments I'd captured at the rehearsal dinner. I had planned to print some for the wedding slideshow, but Tiana had said, "No, Imani, that's not the look we're going for." The look she wanted was spotless. The look didn't include me. I scrolled through the pictures anyway. There was one of her laughing too close to her ex-boyfriend, another of her rolling her eyes at Mom when she thought no one was watching, and a screenshot of a group chat where she and her bridesmaids made fun of Liam's mother, calling her an outdated Barbie with too much perfume. My stomach twisted. That's when I remembered, the cloud folder. 2 days before the wedding, Tiana had sent a link to everyone. Upload your favorite pictures. We'll project them on the big screen during the reception. It was supposed to be a sweet, shared memory board. Every guest could post photos in real time, and the images would appear in a digital slideshow in the ballroom. And just like that, a quiet click in my head became a thunderclap. I didn't plan it right away. I wasn't out for blood, not yet, but something inside me shifted. I opened that shared folder, looked at the clean, empty background waiting for pictures, and thought, you wanted me outside the ballroom? Fine, but you can't stop me from being seen. Still, I waited. I wasn't going to act out of rage. I wanted calm, calculated silence, the kind that made people lean forward and whisper, "Did you see what she just did?" The next morning my phone buzzed. "Mom, you embarrassed us. You made your sister look bad." Me. She did that all on her own. She didn't respond. A few hours later, my cousin Brianna called. She had stayed late after the wedding. "Girl," she whispered, "you missed it. After you left, people started asking where you were." Tiana brushed it off, but her husband's mom, Mrs. Robinson, was not happy. She asked why you were sitting outside, and when Tiana said it was a space issue, the woman looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. That gave me pause. So not everyone bought Tiana's lie. Brianna continued, "By the way, I think Mark's mom recorded part of her speech." Tiana looked nervous. "It was weird. You'd have loved it." "Oh, I would have." After the call, I opened my design software. My hands started to move without thought. I wasn't building revenge yet. I was just organizing evidence, text screenshots, pictures, voice notes, snippets of video from the rehearsal dinner. At first I just labeled folders. Then I started matching images to conversations. My brain clicked into the same focus I used for my graphic design work. Precise, quiet, methodical. By the time I looked up, the clock said 2:43 a.m., and I had created a perfect timeline of Tiana's lies. One file stood out, a short video from the rehearsal dinner 2 nights before the wedding. Tiana was half drunk, giggling with her bridesmaids. "Mark's sweet," she said, "but honestly, he's so predictable. Like, I'll marry him, smile for pictures, and once I've got the ring in the house, I'll finally have the freedom I want." The girls laughed. But behind that laughter, I heard the truth. My perfect sister didn't love her fiancé. She loved what came with him, the status, the money, the audience. That night, I fell asleep with my laptop still open. When I woke up, sunlight poured through my blinds, and I felt lighter, calm. Sometimes peace doesn't come from forgiving people. It comes from deciding you'll never let them treat you like that again. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at her table anymore. I was going to flip the table entirely. Later that day, I received a message from Brianna again. "Brianna, they're having a post-wedding brunch tomorrow at the Robinsons' mansion. You should come." Me, "I wasn't invited." Brianna, "You are now. I heard Liam's mom personally told your mom to make sure you show up. Apparently, she wants to get to know the family better." I laughed out loud. It wasn't a happy laugh, it was disbelief. The same family that humiliated me was now being summoned by the in-laws. I decided to go, not because I wanted to see them, but because I wanted to watch what happened when truth met perfection. I picked a simple navy dress, clean, quiet, nothing dramatic. My mother called before I left, her tone sharp as ever. "Imani, please behave today. We've already been through enough embarrassment." I smiled at the mirror and said, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll be on my best behavior." When I got there, the Robinsons' mansion was everything you'd expect. White columns, sprawling gardens, marble floors that looked too clean to walk on. Liam looked tense, but he tried to hide it behind polite smiles. Mrs. Robinson greeted me warmly, her handshake firm. "You must be Imani," she said. "I'm so glad you came. We didn't get to speak yesterday." Tiana froze when she saw me. Her perfect posture faltered for a second before she masked it with a practiced grin. "Imani, you came." "Yes," I said softly, my voice steady. I didn't want to miss the after-party. For the first time in years, she didn't have the upper hand. And that tiny shift, it felt electric. She didn't know it yet, but the hallway seat was about to become her downfall, because I wasn't planning to stay silent anymore. If you're still here, make sure you like this story and hit subscribe, because in part 3, the perfect bride starts to unravel in front of everyone, and her own wedding pictures become her worst nightmare. I walked into the Robinson mansion like a ghost walking back into the story she wasn't supposed to be part of. The air smelled like lavender and money, the kind of scent that makes people talk softly and hold their forks a little higher. Everyone was dressed to impress. The women wore pastel dresses that looked like they'd been ironed by angels. The men had perfect smiles, polite handshakes, and cufflinks that caught the morning light. And there I was, Imani Reed, the forgotten sister, the one who had been seated next to the bathrooms just 24 hours ago. When Tiana saw me, her face did this little twitch, just a blink of panic before she switched on her smile again. It was flawless, the same one she used for social media and Sunday brunches. But I saw it, that tiny flicker of fear, because she didn't expect me to show up. Imani, she said in her sugary tone. You made it. I smiled, soft and steady. Of course, I didn't want to miss my sister's celebration. Her husband Liam stood beside her, trying to look proud, but his eyes were tired. I wondered if he'd heard the same whispers Brianna had mentioned, the ones about the way Tiana treated his mother. Evelyn Robinson, meanwhile, looked like the kind of woman who never missed anything. Her expression was polite, but her eyes were sharp, scanning every detail like she was reading a room full of confessions. Come, Tiana said, motioning me toward the long dining table. We've saved you a seat. The irony made me want to laugh. Yesterday, there hadn't been a seat for me. Now suddenly, I had one front and center. I sat down, my hands resting neatly in my lap, pretending not to notice how Tiana kept glancing at me. Everyone began eating, sipping their mimosas, laughing at small talk about honeymoons and wedding chaos. But beneath the surface there was tension, the kind that hums just below polite conversation. About halfway through brunch, Mrs. Robinson turned to Tiana with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. So, dear, she said sweetly, I wanted to ask, why wasn't your sister seated with the family yesterday? The table went silent. Tiana froze mid-bite. Liam looked down at his plate. My mother's hand gripped her napkin so tight, I thought it might tear. Tiana let out a nervous laugh. Oh, that? It was just... The planner mixed up the seating chart. You know how chaotic weddings can be. Mrs. Robinson tilted her head slightly. Ah, because I asked one of the ushers last night, and he said he followed the seating exactly as instructed. I bit back a smile. Oh, this was going to be good. Tiana's cheeks flushed. Well, there were last-minute adjustments. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, her voice calm but firm. I see, because I found it interesting that your sister, who you've spoken so highly of, wasn't even in the family photos. You could have heard a pin drop. My mother jumped in, trying to save face. Evelyn, dear, that wasn't intentional. Imani was feeling unwell, so she stepped out for a while. I set down my fork gently and said, Actually, I left because my seat was in the hallway. Right by the restrooms, every head turned toward me. For a second, Tiana's face crumbled. She quickly recovered, fake laughing. Oh, come on, Imani, don't exaggerate. I'm not, I said, still calm. You told me yourself. It's just outside, remember? The words hung in the air like smoke. Mrs. Robinson looked between us, then back at Tiana. Her polite smile vanished. That's unfortunate. Tiana tried to change the subject, but the energy had shifted. The rest of brunch was painfully quiet. People avoided eye contact. Liam barely spoke. When it was over, I stood to leave. Mrs. Robinson approached me near the doorway. Imani, she said, lowering her voice. Thank you for coming today. You didn't deserve how you were treated. I met her gaze, steady and sure. Thank you. I just hope everyone sees things clearly now. She nodded, her jaw tight. Oh, trust me. They will. And that's when I realized I wasn't the only one who saw through Tiana's perfect act. Her new mother-in-law had already noticed the cracks forming. I drove home that afternoon in silence again, but this time it wasn't the silence of humiliation. It was satisfaction, the kind that hums deep in your chest when you know karma is starting to move. When I got home, I checked my phone. Brianna had sent a message. Brianna, girl, what did you do? People at brunch are talking. Evelyn was not happy. Me, I just told the truth. Brianna, well, Tiana's freaking out. She called Mom crying, saying you're trying to ruin her image. I laughed. Her image ruined itself. Then I remembered the shared cloud folder, the one still open, still active. I opened my laptop, signed in, and saw it waiting. Guests had already uploaded pictures of the brunch, smiling faces, champagne glasses, and of course, Tiana posing like everything was perfect again. Perfect. That was her favorite word. So I uploaded one photo. Just one, a simple, harmless-looking picture of her from the rehearsal dinner, laughing with her bridesmaids, glass in hand. But in the background, if you looked closely, you could see her ex, Marcus, sitting beside her, his hand resting over hers. I clicked upload. It took about 3 seconds to sync to the live display, and 3 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Brianna. Imani, what did you do? They're at brunch looking at the slideshow. That picture is up. People are whispering. Mark saw it. I stared at my phone, heartbeat steady. Oh, I typed. Guess the folder finally got interesting. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because in part 4, Tiana's perfect life starts falling apart in real time. The slideshow keeps changing, and this time, she can't control what comes next. The thing about revenge is, it doesn't always explode. Sometimes it hums, slow and quiet, until it becomes impossible to ignore. That's exactly how it started. The photo I uploaded wasn't even scandalous by itself. Tiana, smiling, mid-laugh, champagne in hand. But the background told a different story. Her ex, Marcus, leaning in close, his hand on hers. The same ex she swore she hadn't seen in years. The same ex her husband, Liam, despised. When I uploaded that photo to the shared wedding folder, I didn't expect the chaos to begin that fast. But I forgot one thing. Every guest at that brunch could see the live slideshow on the screen, mounted above the fireplace. 3 minutes. That's all it took. I was still home in my apartment when my phone buzzed again. Brianna. Imani. Girl, it's on the screen. They're all staring. Me. Which one? Brianna. The picture with Marcus. Liam looks pale. Evelyn's hand is on his arm. And Tiana, she's frozen. I didn't reply. I just sat there staring at my screen, my reflection in the dark glass. The quietest smile curved on my lips. Across town at the Robinson mansion, brunch had turned into an ice storm. Guests who had been mid-conversation suddenly fell silent. Forks stopped mid-air. Tiana's fake laugh stuttered and died. She tried to play it off. Oh, that's just an old picture from before we were together. But someone, probably one of Liam's cousins, pointed out the date stamp in the corner. Last year. 6 months after she and Liam got engaged, and then the murmurs started. Brianna texted again. Brianna. Evelyn asked who uploaded it. Me. The folder's public, isn't it? Brianna. Yeah, but Tiana knows. She's glaring at your mom right now. Your mom's shaking her head, like she can't believe it. My mother always said I had a bad habit of ruining moments. She never understood that I didn't ruin them. I revealed them. I walked to my kitchen, made coffee, and opened my laptop again. The folder was still open, new photos appearing every few seconds from guests still uploading their pictures. Smiling faces, cake cutting, the classic cheers pose. Then I clicked upload again. This time it was a screenshot. A text conversation between Tiana and her maid of honor, Layla. I had saved it months ago when Layla accidentally sent it to me instead of Tiana. Tiana. Mark's mom is so annoying. She keeps calling me sweetheart. It's giving desperate Texas debutante energy. Layla. LOL, you're evil. Tiana. I just hope she wears something decent to the wedding. I can't have her looking like she's competing with me. I hovered over the upload button for a moment, my heartbeat steady and cold. Then I clicked. Seconds later, another message from Brianna popped up. Brianna. Imani. They're reading your texts on the big screen now. Evelyn's face is red, like red. Liam just stood up. I set my coffee down, the smell of roasted beans filling the silence of my apartment. My chest didn't feel heavy. It felt clear. For years, I'd been the quiet one. The peacekeeper, the scapegoat, the girl who apologized for existing. But that hallway seat changed everything. I remembered Tiana's face when she pointed at that lonely chair and said, "It's just outside." She thought she was putting me in my place. What she didn't know was that she was giving me the perfect vantage point to watch her lies unravel. At the brunch, chaos was spreading. I wasn't there, but Brianna's texts painted it perfectly. Brianna. Liam just asked her, "You said my mom was annoying?" She tried to lie, but everyone saw the messages. Evelyn's crying. Guests are whispering. Tiana's shaking. The Robinson family had a reputation in Dallas. Wealthy, respected, the kind of family that cared about appearances more than truth. For them, this wasn't just drama. This was scandal. And then came the breaking point. A third photo popped up on the screen, one I hadn't uploaded. Someone else must have added it. It was a screenshot from the group chat between the bridesmaids. The caption read, "At least he's rich." It was Tiana's message. That one, I can't even take credit for. Someone else, maybe one of the bridesmaids, had seen what was happening and decided to twist the knife themselves. Brianna. Oh my God, Imani. Someone just uploaded that message about her marrying for money. Everyone's looking at Liam. He walked out. He just left. I froze. My chest tightened. For a moment, the satisfaction turned to something else, a weird, guilty ache. Did I go too far? But then I remembered the look on Tiana's face when she stood in front of the whole family and humiliated me on purpose. How my parents said nothing. How my mother texted me, "You're being selfish," while I cried in my car. No, this wasn't cruelty. This was truth. I took a deep breath, opened the folder again, and deleted everything I had uploaded. My work was done. I didn't need to add more. The truth was out there now, living its own life. That evening, I went for a walk in downtown Dallas. The sun was setting, orange bleeding into pink across the glass towers. My phone buzzed every few minutes, missed calls from Mom, from Tiana, from numbers I didn't know. I didn't answer a single one. When I finally got home, I played the voicemail from my mother. Her voice was cold, brittle. Imani, I hope you're proud of yourself. You've destroyed your sister's marriage. She's humiliated. Liam's family left, and everyone's talking about us. You've shamed this family. I didn't delete it. I just saved it, like another photo in my album of proof. Then I played the next voicemail. Imani, Evelyn Robinson's voice said. I just want to say thank you. You didn't destroy anything. You revealed it. My son deserves honesty, and so do you. For a long time, I sat there, listening to that message on repeat. Tiana had her perfect wedding, her perfect pictures, her perfect lies. But the moment she seated me in the hallway, she gave me the story of my life. And now, the whole city of Dallas was watching her crumble under the weight of her own perfection. If you're still following this story, hit like and subscribe. Because in part 5, Tiana finally comes face to face with me. And this time, it's not at a wedding. It's at her doorstep, where all masks come off, and the truth gets personal. 2 days passed before she called. 2 full days of silence, of missed calls from my parents, of messages left unread. The group chats were buzzing, my phone lighting up like a Christmas tree. But I didn't answer anyone. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought maybe, finally, I could close that chapter. But when the knock came at my door, I knew better. It was just after 8 p.m. The Dallas sky was bruised purple, the streetlights humming outside my apartment. I opened the door and there she was, Tiana, my sister, the bride whose perfect world had come crashing down in front of her own guests. She didn't look like the woman from the wedding photos anymore. Her hair was tied up in a messy bun, makeup smeared under her eyes, that famous glow long gone. The designer dress was replaced by jeans and a wrinkled hoodie. But her eyes, they were still sharp. Angry. Imani, she said, her voice tight. Can we talk? I stepped aside, motioning her in. She walked past me, her perfume faint but familiar. A ghost from every family dinner I'd ever wished I could forget. For a while, she just stood there in my living room, looking around like she couldn't believe I had my own place. My own life. Finally, she said. You destroyed me. I let out a small laugh. You destroyed yourself, Tiana. I just stopped covering for you. Her eyes snapped up to meet mine. You uploaded those pictures. Those messages. Don't play dumb. I crossed my arms. You humiliated me, publicly, in front of everyone I grew up with. You pointed at that hallway seat and made me the joke of your perfect day. That was a mistake, she snapped. You could have talked to me, but you had to be dramatic. You made my life a circus. Your life was already a circus, I said calmly. I just opened the tent. For a moment, the silence was heavy. You could hear the faint hum of traffic outside, the ticking of my wall clock. Her jaw trembled. You don't understand, she said finally, her voice breaking. Liam's family, they've cut me off. He's staying with his mother. The wedding was annulled this morning. Good, I said quietly. You didn't love him anyway. Her eyes widened, wet with angry tears. You think this feels good? You think I wanted to hurt anyone? I tilted my head. You didn't think twice about hurting me. Tiana sank onto my couch, covering her face with her hands. For the first time in a long time, she looked small. You were always the good one, she said, her voice muffled. I just wanted to be perfect. Mom and Dad never looked at me the way they looked at you when you got your scholarship. I thought, if I could just make something of myself, maybe I'd matter. I blinked. You already mattered. You just made sure I didn't. Her hands dropped to her lap. I didn't mean to make you feel invisible. Yes, you did, I said. You meant every word, every smirk, every side comment. You wanted to prove I didn't belong. Tiana didn't answer. She just sat there staring at the floor. I sighed, sitting across from her. You wanted control. You wanted to be seen as perfect. But you can't build perfection on lies. Eventually, the truth leaks out. Her voice was small. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No, I said softly. It's supposed to make you think. We sat in silence for a while. The city noise outside filled the space between us. It wasn't peace, but it wasn't war either, just stillness. After a while, she stood up, wiping her face. Mom and Dad hate you, she said. They said you humiliated the family. I smiled faintly. They never really liked me anyway. She hesitated at the door. I don't hate you, Imani, she said quietly. I just wish we could go back. I looked at her, my heart calm, my voice even. We can't, but maybe one day you'll learn to sit people beside you instead of above them. She nodded weakly, then walked out. The door closed with a soft click, leaving only silence behind. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. Not the fake peace of staying quiet, the real kind, the kind that comes from choosing yourself. I turned off the lights and sat on the couch where she'd been. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from Brianna. Brianna, you good? Me, yeah, she came by. Brianna, what happened? Me, she finally saw herself. I set my phone down, smiled faintly, and looked at the photo album still sitting on my coffee table. I hadn't opened it since that night. I ran my hand over the cover and whispered, I guess it's time to make a new one. The next morning, I woke up to an unexpected email. The subject line read, Freelance Project Proposal, Robinson Family Foundation. I clicked it open. It was from Evelyn Robinson. Imani, I've seen your design work and your integrity. Our foundation is looking for a new creative consultant. If you're interested, let's talk. I sat there, stunned, rereading the message twice. My sister's mother-in-law, no, ex-mother-in-law, was offering me a job. Life has a funny way of balancing itself. I typed back, Thank you, Mrs. Robinson. I'd love to discuss it. And as I hit send, I realized that the seat they tried to take from me, the one they pushed into the hallway, wasn't the seat I needed after all. I didn't need their table. I could build my own, and this time, I was sitting at the head of it. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, because in part 6, things take a turn. My parents find out about the new job, and what they do next proves that blood doesn't always mean family. I thought the storm had passed. After Tiana left my apartment that night, I sat in the quiet glow of my living room, believing I could finally breathe again. But peace in my family never lasted long. 2 mornings later, I woke up to my phone vibrating nonstop. Messages from numbers I didn't recognize, a few from family, and one from Mom, written in that clipped, dramatic tone she used whenever she wanted to sound like the victim. Mom, call me, now. I didn't. Instead, I opened the curtains. The Dallas sun poured in, painting the room gold, soft and steady. On the coffee table sat my laptop, still open from the night before. The email from Evelyn Robinson, the job offer, shined on the screen like a new beginning. After everything, she still saw something in me worth trusting. That meant more than I could explain. I smiled, closed the laptop, and went to make coffee. The phone buzzed again. Mom. So you think you can humiliate this family and then work for them? You've lost your mind, Mom. Your sister is devastated. Your father is embarrassed to show his face at church. Mom, you've ruined our name. I stared at the messages, coffee cup in hand. For once they didn't sting. They just looked small, words from people who couldn't see past their own reflection. Before I would have called her back, apologized, tried to explain. But not this time. I turned my phone face down. That same afternoon, Evelyn invited me to meet her at her office in uptown Dallas. The building was glass and steel, clean lines and soft lighting. She greeted me warmly, that calm confidence still there. "Imani," she said, shaking my hand. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you," I replied. "I wasn't expecting your message." Evelyn smiled slightly. "Neither was I, to be honest. But you impressed me. You handled a cruel situation with grace. That speaks louder than any degree or resume." She offered me tea, and we sat across a long wooden table. "My foundation helps women rebuild their lives after betrayal and hardship," she said. "I think your story, painful as it was, gives you a voice people will listen to. I'd like to bring you on as our lead digital designer." For a second, I couldn't speak. "You're serious?" "Completely. You have talent, Imani, and you deserve a seat where you're respected." That word, seat, hit deep. For the first time in my life, someone wasn't handing me a chair out of pity. They were offering me a place I earned. We talked for an hour. She told me about her vision. I showed her my designs, and by the time I left, I had an official offer letter in my inbox. I stood outside the building, watching cars glide past, wind warm against my face. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible, but peace again didn't last. That evening, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. I heard the knock and instantly knew who it was. I took a deep breath and opened the door. My mother stepped in first, her heels clicking against the floor like judgment. My father followed, silent but fuming. "So this is where you've been hiding," Mom said, looking around like my modest apartment was beneath her. "I'm not hiding," I said. "I'm living." "Don't be smart with me," she snapped. "Do you realize what you've done to this family? Tiana can't leave the house without people whispering." "And now you're working for that woman? You mean Evelyn Robinson?" I said evenly. "Yes, she offered me a job." My father finally spoke. "You think you can fix what you broke by working for her? You humiliated your sister in front of Dallas society. Our family's name is dirt." I looked at him steady. "I didn't break anything. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken." Mom's voice rose. "Don't you dare talk back. We raised you better than this." "No," I said, my tone quiet but sharp. "You raised me to stay quiet, to take the blame, to sit in the hallway and smile while everyone else got to be seen." Her mouth opened, then closed again. "You always favored her," I said. "Always made excuses. When she lied, I was told to stay silent. When she humiliated me, you said, 'Don't make a scene.' But the day I told the truth, you called me selfish." My father stepped forward. "We are your parents. You owe us respect," I met his gaze. "Respect is earned, Dad, not demanded." He glared, but he didn't move closer. For the first time, I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Not anger, not authority. Fear. The realization that I wasn't his obedient little girl anymore. Mom crossed her arms, shaking her head. "You'll regret this, Imani. One day you'll come crawling back." I smiled faintly. "The only thing I regret is thinking I needed your approval to feel worthy." They didn't have a comeback. Just silence. Heavy, brittle silence. When they finally left, slamming the door behind them, I felt a strange mixture of grief and freedom. It hurt. Losing family always does, but it also felt like stepping into sunlight after years in the dark. That night, I opened my laptop and accepted Evelyn's offer. A new start, a new chapter. I updated my profile photo, wrote my new job title, and hovered over the save button. For a second, I thought about everything that had led me here, the humiliation, the pain, the walk out of that ballroom. Then I hit save. And just like that, the hallway girl was gone. But peace doesn't mean quiet forever, because the next morning, my cousin Brianna called, her voice shaking. "Imani, you need to see this. Someone's posted your photos and messages on social media. Tiana's friends are saying you hacked her wedding. They're calling you jealous. It's spreading. I froze. Of course. My sister's final move. She couldn't win privately, so she was taking the fight public. I closed my eyes, exhaled slowly, and said, okay. Because if Tiana wanted to play that game, then part 2 of my story was about to begin. And this time, I would control the narrative. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because in part 7, the story explodes online. Lies spread, sides are chosen, and I have to decide whether to fight back or finally let go. The internet has a way of twisting truth into theater. By the time I poured my morning coffee, my private pain had become public entertainment. It started with a notification, a tag on Facebook, then another, and another. My name, my face, my story, plastered across posts I didn't create. The caption read, "The bitter sister who ruined her own sister's wedding because she couldn't stand her happiness." Beneath it, comments poured in like a flood. Jealousy is ugly. Imagine destroying your sister's marriage for clout. There's always one toxic sibling. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know I had been humiliated, pushed aside, erased. All they saw was what Tiana wanted them to see, a bitter, petty sister seeking attention, and she was smart about it. She had screenshots of her own, carefully cropped, framed just right to paint her as the victim. A text I sent to Brianna saying, "They'll regret treating me like I'm invisible," became a headline. She didn't include what came before it. "I just want to be treated like I belong." In less than 24 hours, my name was trending locally. People from high school were sharing it. Strangers debated my life over comment sections like it was a reality show. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just stared at the screen, numb. My phone buzzed, again and again. Evelyn called, Brianna texted. Even a few journalists reached out asking for a statement. I ignored them all, until one call came through that I couldn't ignore. Imani, Evelyn's calm voice came through, low but firm. "Don't engage online. Not yet." "I wasn't planning to," I said quietly. "But it's everywhere." "I know," she replied. "I saw it. And so did Liam. He's furious." "Not at you, at her." That last part made me pause. "He knows?" "Oh, he knows. He's already given a statement privately to his mother. He has the originals, the photos, the messages. He backed up everything you showed. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until I exhaled. So what now?" "Now," Evelyn said, "you stay silent. Let her talk. The louder she gets, the easier it'll be to show who's really lying." Her voice had that quiet confidence again, the kind I'd come to trust. So that's what I did. I went silent. Days passed. The gossip burned hot, then started to cool. People move on quickly when there's nothing new to feed on. But in that short storm, I learned something. Silence is louder than defense. Because while Tiana was ranting online, posting cryptic messages about betrayal and sisterhood, I was rebuilding quietly. Evelyn kept her word. I started my new job officially that week, designing promotional materials for her foundation. Every morning I walked into that glass building with my head high. No one looked at me like a rumor. No one called me dramatic or jealous. They called me Imani, the designer. But peace doesn't come easy when you've spent your life fighting for it. On Friday, as I left the office, my phone rang again. It was Brianna. "Girl, you won't believe this," she said breathlessly. "Tiana just posted a video." I sighed. "What now?" She's crying, like full-on tears, saying you hacked her wedding slideshow and ruined her marriage for revenge. She's calling it emotional abuse. She said you're obsessed with her. I stopped walking. The Dallas air was warm, heavy, humming with distant traffic. "She's playing the victim," I murmured. "She's good at it," Brianna said. "People are sympathizing. The video's already getting thousands of views. Comments like, 'Poor girl,' and 'her sister sounds crazy.'" I felt the old anger flicker again, low and familiar. I thought I'd buried it. I thought I'd moved past caring. But seeing someone rewrite your truth, your life, does something to you. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted peace. But peace doesn't mean letting lies live. So that night I decided to speak. Not to attack. Not to destroy. Just to tell my side. Once, clearly, and without hate. I set up my phone on my kitchen counter. No filters, no makeup. Just me. When I hit record, my voice was steady. "Hi. My name's Imani Reed. You've probably seen a lot about me lately. Stories that I ruined a wedding, that I destroyed a marriage. I want to tell you the truth. I looked straight into the camera. I didn't ruin anything. I left my sister's wedding because I was seated in a hallway, not a metaphorical one, an actual hallway, right next to the bathrooms. I wasn't included in family photos or speeches or even the main room. I didn't leave to make a scene. I left to keep my dignity. I paused, letting the silence breathe. Everything that came after, the photos, the messages, were things my sister created. I didn't fabricate them. I just stopped protecting her lies. Maybe you think that's revenge. I think it's truth. My voice softened. You don't have to believe me. Just know that sometimes the quiet ones you ignore are the ones who've been carrying everyone's secrets. And one day they get tired. I ended with one final line. I wish her peace. I've already found mine. And I hit post. The video didn't go viral overnight. It wasn't explosive, wasn't dramatic, but slowly people started to notice. One comment, then 100, then 1,000. She speaks with calm. That says everything. Her story feels real. That hallway detail, you can't make that up. Even Liam left a quiet comment under it. Everything she said is true. And that was the final blow. The next morning, Tiana deleted her video, then her posts, then, eventually, her whole account. A week later, I was sitting in my new office when Evelyn walked in. She placed a cup of coffee on my desk. You handled that beautifully, she said. No drama, just truth, I smiled. Guess I learned something from being in the hallway. Evelyn laughed softly. You didn't belong in the hallway, Imani. You just had to realize that for yourself. I looked out the window. The Dallas skyline stretched wide and bright, sunlight bouncing off glass towers. I wasn't invisible anymore, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for anyone to give me a seat. I'd built my own table, and this time, I knew exactly who deserved to sit at it. If you're still here, hit like and subscribe. Because in part 8, the final chapter, the story comes full circle. You'll see what happens when forgiveness meets freedom, and how sometimes walking away really is the most powerful revenge. It's strange how quiet life feels once the noise fades. No buzzing notifications, no whispered gossip, no half-truths spinning through social media, just silence. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared of it. A month had passed since my video. I had settled into my new role at the Robinson Family Foundation. My days were filled with design work, meetings, and moments of laughter that didn't come with guilt. Every morning I walked through the glass doors, shoulders straight, head high, not because I wanted to prove anything, but because I finally believed I belonged there, still. Sometimes, late at night, I'd think about my family, about Tiana, about the wedding, the hallway, the hurt. It didn't sting the same way anymore, but it lingered, like an old bruise that still aches when you press it. One Friday afternoon, I was wrapping up some graphics when Evelyn knocked on my office door. Got a minute? She asked, holding 2 cups of coffee. Always, I said with a smile. She handed me one and sat across from me. I heard from Liam this morning. I paused. How's he doing? Better, she said softly. He's moving on. Therapy, work, new hobbies. He's even thinking of leaving Dallas for a while. That's good, I said quietly. He deserves peace. Evelyn smiled. So do you, Imani, I hesitated. And Tiana? She exhaled. From what I hear, she's keeping a low profile. She's staying with your parents. Things aren't easy for her right now, I nodded. They usually aren't when the truth catches up. Evelyn studied me for a moment. Do you hate her? The question hung in the air. I thought about it, really thought. The hallway, the laughter, the humiliation, the tears, the revenge. And then softly I said, no, I don't hate her anymore. Hating her means she still controls me. Evelyn smiled gently. That's growth. That weekend I drove to a little park in Oak Cliff, the one Tiana and I used to go to as kids. I hadn't been there in years. The same swings creaked in the breeze, the same oak trees stood tall by the lake. I sat on a bench, the photo album beside me. Yes, that album, the one I'd made for her wedding, the one she never opened. Page after page, memories stared back. 2 little girls with matching braids and scraped knees, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. The kind of moments you don't realize are precious until they're gone. I smiled. Not bitterly, genuinely, because for all her cruelty, there had been good times once. Before the competition, before the comparisons, before the family politics turned us into rivals. I closed the album and whispered, "I forgive you, Tiana." Not because she asked, not because she deserved it, but because forgiveness wasn't for her. It was for me. I got up, walked to the water's edge, and placed the album gently on the bench. A soft wind flipped the first page open. A picture of us, maybe 7 and 9 years old. Holding hands and laughing at nothing, I let it go. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Tiana, thank you for what you said in your video. I saw it. You were right. I built a life that wasn't real. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "I hope you find peace, Tiana. We both deserve it." She didn't reply, and I didn't need her to. Some stories don't need sequels, just endings that make sense. The next morning, I drove into work early. Dallas was waking up, sunlight washing over glass towers, traffic starting to hum. I parked, grabbed my coffee, and stood outside the building for a moment, watching the city move. It hit me then, how far I'd come from that hallway. From the girl too afraid to speak, to the woman who finally found her voice. I had spent my whole life begging for a seat at someone else's table. Now I had my own, one built from truth, from strength, from every scar I refused to hide. And the best part? I didn't need applause. I didn't need validation. The peace I'd built was enough. As I sat at my desk designing a new campaign poster, I added a small line at the bottom, a quote for the women the foundation aimed to empower. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stand up. Walk away and build your own table. I smiled, because that wasn't just a quote. It was my story. My sister's wedding had started my downfall. But my walk out of that hallway? That was the beginning of everything beautiful. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or treated like you didn't belong, remember this: you don't need anyone's permission to start over. Tell me in the comments, have you ever walked away from a situation that didn't deserve you? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories where truth wins, no matter how long it takes, because sometimes revenge isn't destroying someone else's peace, it's finally finding your own.